For a 90-day free trial, visit theathletic.co.uk/Tifo Football 90 to read the best stories that you won't find anywhere else. The decision to play Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang on the wing for Arsenal is often met with bemusement. On the face of it, that makes sense. Why play one of the best strikers in the world in a position where he's further from goal? Nevertheless, Arsene Wenger, Unai Emery and recently Mikel Arteta have all used Aubameyang out wide at times. As it turns out, they've good reason. Statistics show a player who not only offers greater contribution to the team out wide, but also one who offers just as much penalty box threat, and even scores more goals. Contrary to the general perception, Aubameyang has actually been used as a lone forward for most of his Arsenal career. He started off there when he joined for a then club record fee in 2018. And his first appearance on the left was in an away defeat to Newcastle in April that year when he had 70 touches, his highest number in an Arsenal shirt, and provided an assist for Alexandre Lacazette to put Arsenal into the lead. While the result didn't go Arsenal's way, the game offered a glimpse into how Wenger and his successor would try to shoehorn Lacazette and Aubameyang into the same team. Now, it's not the case, however, that Aubameyang has been confined to the flank ever since. Breaking his minutes down into the various roles he's played at Arsenal, that position on the left has made up about a quarter of his game time. Aubameyang has spent a large proportion of his time up front alone, either in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, where most believe he's best suited to playing. And for all the talk of him being used as a winger, he spent almost 2/3 of his minutes playing as a striker. But where it becomes most interesting, however, is looking at his raw goal-scoring statistics. To date, Aubameyang has actually scored most of his goals when playing out on the wing. Not only that, but he has a higher rate of goals per 90 when starting wide on the left. It's also worth noting how consistent his record is when playing up top, either in a 2 or on his own, and also how he scores at a rate of at least a goal every other game. His quality is obviously evident wherever he plays. Looking at expected goals tells us about the quality of the chances he gets per position. His XG scores as a left winger and lone forward are strikingly similar, although there's a markedly big drop-off when he plays from the right, where he appears to be significantly less dangerous. When you look at his shot maps in both positions, it's striking that the vast majority of his goals are still scored from within the width of the 6-yard box. It's not as if playing from the left means he's scoring consistently from the left channel. What's important is that even when stationed out wide, he's granted the freedom to get into the close range areas where he is so dangerous. When partnered up top, Aubameyang gets fewer quality chances than when he plays on his own, presumably due to sharing those opportunities with his strike partner. Aubameyang is an expert finisher and has outscored XG across each position. In fact, while the quality of the chances that he's been getting recently at left wing has reduced, he's still scoring at a high rate. A player who used to be defined by volume of chances rather than the quality of finishing has evolved into a clinical marksman. Whether that continues remains to be seen, but it will doubtless play into Arsenal's thinking over his future this summer. With a different position also comes different responsibilities for Aubameyang. At left wing, he finds himself putting in far more defensive work, as noted by his number of defensive actions per 90 minutes. He also sees far more of the ball when playing out wide. And crucially, he actually gets more touches inside the opponent's box when playing from the flank than he does through the middle. It appears that this position enables him to offer more to Arsenal defensively without compromising his goal-scoring threat. Playing Aubameyang on the left instead of up front also covers some of his deficiencies when holding the ball up. With Arsenal starting attacks deeper than any other team in the Premier League this season, it's key that they have a player who can keep possession when under pressure, enabling fellow attackers to catch up with the play. Lacazette is Arsenal's best attacking option from this perspective, and that's borne out in his numbers. His pass completion rate in the opposition half is markedly higher than Aubameyang's and Eddie Nketiah's. Lacazette and Aubameyang also have a good on-field understanding, so no Arsenal player has created more goals for Aubameyang than Lacazette, with 6 assists. Of the current Arsenal squad, the next in line are Hector Bellerin and Sead Kolasinac, with 3. When playing as the lone frontman, Aubameyang manages fewer touches in the middle third of the field than Lacazette and Nketiah do when playing the same role this season, potentially showing that it's not a natural part of his game to show for the ball. Having Aubameyang on the left, however, means that Arsenal can use his pace to run them up the field instead. in a similar fashion to how Steve Bruce has used Miguel Almiron and Alain Saint-Maximin to propel his Newcastle team forward. Football is, after all, a team sport, and if it means playing a better player slightly out of position to cover the gaps in their game for the betterment of the team, then it's a worthwhile trade-off. Even before taking on the role of captain, Aubameyang showed a willingness to sacrifice himself for the side. The collective comes first, and the numbers show that Arsenal score more goals when Aubameyang is on the left. This is admittedly a raw figure that is not adjusted for the quality of opposition played, but it's nonetheless interesting. Playing Aubameyang on the left enables Arsenal to squeeze more potential goal scorers into their starting 11. And of course, this situation is nothing new for Aubameyang. In Jurgen Klopp's final season at Dortmund, he played Aubameyang from the left to help accommodate Ciro Immobile. His best position was the subject of fractious internal debate at the club. But there is one more factor to consider here: Aubameyang's age. Playing left wing requires him to cover an enormous amount of ground, and he turns 31 this summer. It's possible that he might suffer a physical dip that means he struggles to get through that workload. As he gets older, limiting his position to the width of the penalty box might have a certain logic. For now, however, he shows no signs of slowing. The script for this video, written by James McNicholas and Tom Warville, was originally featured on The Athletic, the best place to read about football online. Whether it's more behind-the-scenes insight, dedicated local reporting about your team, or rich storytelling from around the world, you'll find it all in one place. And if you like today's video, you can read so much more from The Athletic's world-class team of football writers. Get a 90-day free trial by visiting theathletic.co.uk/Tifo Football 90.